Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jolie Knots Crochet. Hit share, go ahead and share with your friends, or you can hit that little bell to get notifications when new patterns release.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal, and today we are going to be making these Knitty Gritty Scrappy Potholders. This one I made with a bunch of scraps, cotton scraps that I had. The stitch looks knitted. Nice little braids coming through. The back is from in one direction and the front looks like another direction. And then this one, I had some extra scraps. I had a little bit more of this one and then some extra yellow. And I made a larger one, so we can do that in two different sizes or whatever size you're really interested in. This one is... This one here is about a 6-inch square, and this one here is about 7.5 inches, all right? This one I started with 35 chains. This one I started with 45 chains. So the one we're making in this tutorial is this one, but if you are interested in adjusting your size, that is not a problem. I will teach you all of that, all right? For these, like I said, just extra scrap cottons, category 4 weight, scraps, you know, whatever you have lying around that you don't really have enough to make with a full project is totally fine. And we are using a 4.5mm hook. Now, sizing wise, if you are sizing, say this one for example, this is a 5-inch by 5-inch square. I chained 35. Your starting chain is going to be in the diagonal direction of your square. So this is 35. The next one that I'm gonna do, this one here is gonna be 45. I'm gonna make it in a much larger square shape. This is kind of small for my hands. My husband's got really big hands, but what we do use is, you know, when my kids are eating soup or taking something out of the microwave, this is really good for them just to have a little bit of extra hold. It doesn't necessarily need to be really big. So this is a good size for something smaller, but it's really thick. We have joined with a flat slip stitch down the middle, and we've got our chain to hang it up if you'd like to hang it up. So getting started with this one, I've got 45 chains. And now what I'm going to do is into the second chain from the hook, I'm going to put a single crochet. Now our first row all the way down in every single chain space is going to be a single crochet. We're going all the way down this chain and then back up this chain. When you get to the end of your chain, your last chain stitch, you're going to put 3 single crochets into it. And essentially you're going to be kind of working around your corner, so that way we can work back up the other side. So 3 single crochets, and now we're going to work down or up, whatever you prefer, the same chain. So single crochets, 1 single crochet all the way down. Okay, so we've reached the end, coming back along. This is our first chain space that we put our single crochet into. So we're going to put 1 single crochet into it, and then the next one, which will be our third one because we started with one, is going to be a half double crochet. That will be the last stitch of this round all the way around. Single crochets, 3 single crochets here at the end, 1 more single crochet, and then the last one half double. Now we're going to work our way back down this side, but if you turn your work, you will see that there is a third loop. There's a back bar to your single crochets. It's a little bit tricky to see in the first one. Let me point it out to you. You've got your V here from the top of your stitch, and this will be your back bar right there. Now, like I said, your first one is going to be a little bit tricky to see. The rest of them are going to be much easier. Now, in the remainder of this pattern, we're going to be doing half double crochets into the back bar. That's it. A repeat all the way around, half double crochets into the back bar. So you'll see here's the top of stitch. Here's the top of the stitch, that's your V. Yarn over, give that a little bit of a turn, and you'll find your back bar. And there it is. And that's where we'll put our half double crochet. Finding the back bar of every stitch. Some people call it the third loop, some people call it the back bar. Whatever is convenient for you. It is a little bit more difficult to find on your single crochet. Not to find, but just to get your hook in there. It's a little bit more difficult. Now when we start working into our half double crochets, like the row that we're doing now, it's going to be much more easy. So go ahead and put a half double crochet into your back bar, or the third loop of every single crochet all the way around, and I will meet you back at the beginning to show you exactly where the back bar is in your half double crochet. Now the reason that we're working into these back bars is that the top of your stitch, when worked into the back bar, is now going to move to the front, and that's what's going to create this braided knitted look. See that? That's what's creating that. Now with this one, I started with half double crochets because, you know, the single crochet is a little bit difficult to work into, and it left a big kind of open gap here, which is why we are working now with the single crochets. So I want that gap to be a little bit smaller. But if it's a little bit too difficult for you to work into those back bars, go ahead and start with the half double crochet all the way around. It's not a big deal. So from here, like I said, our pattern is consisting of half double crochets in every single stitch. When you get to the end of your row, where there are 3 single crochets in here, all you're going to do is continue half double crochet into the back bar of every stitch. We're not adding, we're not decreasing. As I get a little bit farther along, I am going to show you exactly how your pattern is going to start looking, and then that way you'll know exactly where to stop your pattern, because you'll know the size that it has made. All right, so go ahead and just continue working your half double crochets into the back bar of your work all the way around, and I will meet you right back at your first half double crochet. If you want to put a stitch marker in it, no problem. It's not a big deal. We're not going to really need stitch markers for this pattern, so whatever is more convenient for you. All right, we have just completed the last half double crochet into the back loop of your single crochet. Thank goodness. That is the hardest part of your entire pattern, is getting your half doubles into that back loop. So now that we are on our half doubles and working into our half doubles, that back loop is much easier to find. So we've got the top of our stitches, give that a turn, and we've got this really simple loop to pick up, and we will be working into the back bar. And now your pattern is just going to zoom by. So keep working like that. I will show you after a couple of rounds what your work is going to start looking like, so you know what you are looking for in order to end your project. And here we are. We're starting to form all of our braids. When we work into one, it's going to push it up and they're going to get pushed closer together. There won't be this big gap. All right, so go ahead and continue working around, and I will see you back after a couple more rounds. Okay, so here we are part ways through, and you'll notice that as you continue to grow your pot holder, it is going to get closer and closer together. So once you get close enough, in this sense, this grew all the way here. So once you get to where your angles will be a 90-degree angle and these are meeting up, that's when we're going to do our flat slip stitch join. All right, so keep on working. And as you get closer here, I'll meet you back. Okay, so it looks like my piece has become square, and this will be the corner that I will make my hanging chain from. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky if you know your square doesn't look like a square, it looks like a rectangle. It kind of, you know, it changes, of course, because it can move in any which way. But an easy way to check would be to fold it over, match one point to the opposite point, and that looks pretty rectangle to me. It looks like these squares are all going to match up. The line, I'm sorry, that it looks like the edges are all going to match up. Now we're going to do a flat slip stitch join. So before we do that, we're going to stop our last half double crochet right at the corner, and we're going to chain 13. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now let's turn this around. We're going to be working in this direction, and we're going to make sure our yarn is coming from the opposite direction as us. Okay, so now we've turned our work and we're going to be working in this direction. How we're going to work this slip stitch join, our working yarn is going to need to stay underneath the loops that we're getting onto our hook. So for example, our next stitch here, because we're working into our back bars, I'm going to stick my hook into the top of that back bar, just like normal, as if I was working a normal stitch. Now I'm going to make sure that this yarn is staying down. It's got to stay underneath. Now into the first stitch here, which is this one, I'm going to work my hook from the top going down. Now it's going to feel a little bit awkward because it's not typically how we would all carry our yarn. And now I have 3 loops on our hook. I'm going to give this a little tug. We'll pull on this back one and help with our tension. And now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. And that's how we're going to do our first slip stitch join, okay? Now for the next one, we're going to work in the back bar of our next half double crochet. Make sure this yarn is underneath, and then go ahead and stick your hook into the next back bar from the top going down. And again, you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Pull this one so it's a little bit more taut. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Just like that. Okay, we're going to do a couple more together and then I'm going to let you finish out. From the top down, pulling this yarn under, from the top down, getting the tension back, yarning over, and pulling through all 3 loops. So now that we've got a couple of those done, let's go ahead and flatten this out. And you can see that it looks exactly like the other sides. We're just adding in a braid and we've got the braids in going on both sides. Let me show you on the one we've already finished. Okay, so this pink one right here is the one that we slip stitch joined down. We kept the braid here and we kept the braid here by continuing to work in the back loops. The back bars, not the back loop, but the back bar. All the way down. And when you get to the end, all you're going to do is hide your tail inside and shove it on in there. And you've got yourself a done project.